Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Down in the Country podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Reed, and today we are joined by another up and coming artist, country music artist, Kevin Herchen. Kevin, thank you so much for your time today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Of course, we're glad you're here. And so, you enjoy connecting with fans when you tour New England and the greater East Coast. What does that mean to you as a up and coming country music artist?
It means a lot because in this world, where we're uh, behind phones and screens and everything else, to like be able to shake a hand and talk to people and learn where they're from, what they're doing,
Mhm.
and what type of music they like and what songs that I put out that they like and what else they're listening to and just learn about people, and
Mhm.
my problem is I talk too much, so I usually end up talking to everybody too much. And there's not enough time in the night to do it. So, but it's good. I love it.
Yeah. And do you notice when you're like touring, around New England and the greater East Coast, like there's a particular energy that people tend to bring to your shows? Like, or is it kind of a show by show depending upon where you're playing?
Yeah, I would say, it's always a positive vibe, which is really cool. It's always a friendly, positive vibe, which I love, but it varies between venue and night of the week, obviously a Wednesday isn't as party filled as a Friday or Saturday, but you never know, I've had crazy Tuesday nights, and it's just whatever. There's certain magic that happens certain nights, but for the most part, it's just positive vibes and it's good.
Yeah. Coming from someone who went to college in Boston, living right by that border of Brookline and Boston, and you could literally see that Fenway neighborhood. Like it's constantly going. And I sometimes, I jokingly told myself when I was living there, I don't think they know if it's a Monday or a Sunday night. So
Right, which
so
is which is cool. That makes it a fun place to be.
sure does. There's no place like Boston coming from someone who's from Texas.
That's awesome. We'll take that compliment for sure.
And so your music, so Beating Heart, which was released in 2021, and then Betcha, which was actually just released this year, are singles that represent your versatility as an artist. Could you provide like an introduction to each of the singles?
Yes, it's just when the mood strikes, whatever we're writing, and so Beating Heart was just something that came to us, and that those things we always wish those things happen where it's the mood, it's the vibe, and the guitar works with the voice the best way it can. That was written with my friend Steve Smentek, and I think it was like coming out of COVID, it was like a lot of emotions, which was cool. But I had that title, and then the spin on the title, Beating Heart, for a while, but didn't know how to put it together. And then Steve Smentek, he's a guy from Chicago that I write with and a good friend, and we just that one just came together. It was great, it was one of those things. And then Betcha, I did not write. It's an outside cut with Steve Smentek though. So what had happened was I was looking for songs to put out because I wasn't in love with anything that I had written recently, and so those guys know my style and we've written together, and so I wasn't on the right, but I knew the guys that wrote it: Scott Volkerding, Leslie Bowe, and Steve Smentek, like I said. So they sent me 4 or 5 songs that were in the vein of the music that I release and that I write and everything else, and I wanted something more upbeat, something more upbeat, like you said, the juxtaposition of Beating Heart versus Betcha. And so, to fill out the catalog, to start the night or to end the night with Betcha, the big vibe, positive, upbeat, rocker. And then, in the middle of the set, you can get slower and emotional, and then play Beating Heart, so it kind of fills the catalog. So,
Hmm. So are those two singles like are they kind of a staple on your set list when you go tour?
yes, yes, definitely. I
Awesome.
try to play all the originals But yeah, I think I end the night with Betcha now. Yeah, which is cool because, like I said, I needed a bigger, more powerful song to end the night with, and that's perfect. And I'm so glad that they let me introduce me to that song. So it's cool.
Awesome. And do you mind if we play a clip of Beating Heart?
Of course.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Here it is.
Hey, heart, I'm surprised you haven't given up yet. Hey, heart, do you lock away the pain and forget? Aren't you tired of giving all yourself away? Hoping it'll come back one day. Hey, heart, what keeps you ticking after all of the lickings you take? And how do you go on, love?
So the first thing I will say, I do love whoever did the photography for this single did a great job. I really like how you're just kind of sitting down in a leather chair, and those don't, I could be wrong, but they look like boots. Um, they might be, when I call them snow boots, kind of looks like
Yeah.
snow boots,
Yeah.
jeans, kind of that lumberjack sort of flannel I do like, it's like, I do kind of like that, kind of like, hey, like this is, were you trying with this particular cover art for Beating Heart, were you trying to get a particular mood or tone across? And, that way you can kind of give a hint to the audience, like, hey, this is kind of what you're supposed to be feeling when you listen to Beating Heart.
Yeah, for sure. We want to always match the cover art with the music. So that's Matthew Allen Photography that did that for me. He's a friend of mine that grew up in the same place I did in Rhode Island, and yeah, I originally wanted to have like looking down at my hands, like holding your heart, almost kind of thing, but it didn't translate as well with that kind of. But it had to be a pensive, thoughtful,
Hmm.
and kind of mood, where I'm sitting there thinking, and that's yeah, I think, and I'm glad you said that because that's what we were going for. So that's what came across, like that somber kind of tone, and I think we pulled it off great. So yeah, thanks.
So you wrote the song with Steve. So what was the writing to cutting process like throughout that for Beating Heart before it was released?
Yeah, Beating the Heart was pretty straightforward because, like I said, it came together rather quickly. We wrote it, I think, in August afternoon in 2021, and then yeah, it was pretty quick production on it because my producer Max Gabriel in Nashville, he's an amazing friend in person, but he's also a great producer, So we sent it over, and he just like he instantly knew the mood we were going for. And then I have Rachel Horder doing background vocals on that too in the chorus. Well, I think more than just the chorus, but she's great too. And I met her on the way. I met her at a stop off in Nashville on the way to go to the Super Bowl in Atlanta in like
Oh wow.
2018. So, and I just happened to run into her and saw her show she was doing at Old Red, and I was like, I love her voice, let's do it. And so yeah, I asked her to do the background vocals because it's that kind of an emotional song, so it kind of worked perfectly with a female backing track, and it was great. So yeah, that one was those are the ones that you always wish happened, and every song you could write and cut is that quick and
Hmm.
easy and powerful, but those don't come along too much, so that one's special.
So I was gonna ask you, that was the 28-3 Super Bowl, right? That you went to?
No, no, that one, this one wasn't against Atlanta. It was in Atlanta against the Rams. So it was Brady's last Super Bowl. So
Oh,
that one was the 13-3,
that
thirteen to
was
three against the Rams. Yeah.
that was the 13-3. Oh,
Yeah.
so
I wish I was at that other one, but
yeah,
but no
All-
luck.
greatest quarterback of all time, hands down.
Smart man, you are.
Might not be the most athletic, but like if you put his stats against anyone, like that's the thing. Not to go off on a tangent about football, but it's like,
Yeah,
but
which
I
we
know you're a
could.
big football fan and you play
Yeah,
fantasy, but it's like, you know, you can be the most athletic quarterback, but that doesn't necessarily translate into winning championships.
correct. Yeah,
So, you
yeah.
know,
So I'll take the wins. But yeah,
same. I think we all would take the wins at the end of the
right,
day.
right,
Um, so
for
you,
sure.
um, so so particularly with Beating Heart. So
Mhm.
when I first listened to that song, it was kind of you were kind of mixing traditional country. It sounded like with soft rock. What kind
Mhm.
of musical influences were you playing with at the time to have that particular song in that single?
Wow, that's a good question. I always try to figure out where they come from, but I have so many musical influences that I don't really know. I mean, I love John Mayer and like Matt Nathanson and like, but then I like Jackson Brown and Jason Aldean, you know? So it's like, it's a weird thing. I don't know what kind of mood. Well, we knew the Beating Heart title and the content had to be, a slower, a softer song. So that's kind of what we went for. But I don't know. I would say something like, the emotional stuff of Jackson Brown and John Mayer and stuff like that, But also like I don't know the Goo Goo Dolls, Name and Iris and those types of songs. So it's tough to that's a tough question, but that's a good one.
Yeah,
But it's tough.
yeah, because it's like, you know, you don't really. It's amazing to me just how much the genre has changed from like the 50s to 60s to like now, because then you didn't really hear a lot of I mean, prime example, as she's one of my favorites, but Dolly Parton with Jolene, like people didn't mix genres back then compared to what you're
Right.
hearing now on the radio.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, and then sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't. So it's cool. But I mean, I think as long as you're being authentic, as long as you're doing what you like and what comes out of you and you really can't go wrong. So
Yeah. So, and then the next track or single I want to talk about is Betcha, which was
mhm.
released in 2024. So you kind of talked about how that's kind of a fun single that you play at shows, kind of an upbeat, something to kind of close the show with. Do you mind if we play a clip of that one too as well?
For sure.
Yeah, it's my favorite. So.
Thanks, man.
Damn girl, you're locking eyes on me. I'm playing it cool like I don't see, but you got me thinking that you and I should meet. If I went and made a move, walked up and tried to talk to you, would you leave me on or leave me guessing about what you're gonna do? I bet you look fine on a Friday night, sipping red wine with your friends by your side. Hair done up, dressed down to the nines in that moonlight. Bet you look good when you're dancing in the club, catching eyes from the guys trying to pick you up. Bet you every boy you meet just falls in love. Yeah, I bet you.
Once again, whoever does your cover art, they do a damn good
Yeah.
job.
Well, that's a different one. That's Brandon Paglia Studios, and he's probably going to do the next one as well. He's a college kid. Well, he actually out of college now, but a younger kid who's making a name for himself. He's doing great things. But yeah, thank you. So we didn't know what to do, and he's got a lot of ideas and a lot of he's very tech savvy and things like that. So we tried to pull in the I like the colors. I like everything on that. So it really, really worked out. And of course, we say in that moonlight. That's one of the
Mhm.
lyrics. So we had to have the moon, on the streets. So it's
Yeah.
really cool. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, he does a great job.
It kind of the cover art kind of reminds me a little bit of like, those old fashioned like Marvel movie theater posters I used to see back in the 90s. That's kind of what it
Oh,
reminds me of. I don't know if that
that's
was kind of
cool.
the vibe that you were going for, but
No, that's cool though. It's a cool interpretation of it too. I like it.
so
Yeah.
so specifically, I remember, aside from it being my favorite, one of the listening to it, it kind of was a hybrid too as well. You kind of had a little bit of like, I call it space rock, so you kind of that, that Killers kind of vibe, like that Mr. Brightside a little bit, and then you had
Mhm.
um kind of that more contemporary rock. My favorite part in that entire song is that crescendo to that drum solo, and then it's like, you know, LFG, kind of like that's my favorite. Like that was my favorite part of the song. So I want to say kudos to you for
Nice.
that. That was like made me want to listen to the song throughout, because it's, I think, the crescendo of a song kind of can make it or break it for listeners.
Oh,
Um
cool. That's
and
Max Gabriel. He's awesome.
yeah, so he played the drums.
Yeah, he does
Oh
everything.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, no,
Hmm.
that was a cool little thing that he did
Yeah.
on the drums. I really appreciated that. And so
Yeah.
specifically with this song, kind of, so you wrote it, so you worked on it with Steve, who you worked on Beating Heart with, but then
Mhm.
also Scott too as well.
Mhm.
What kind of what was the writing and cutting process like for this particular song?
So this one, like I said, yeah, this is an outside cut, and they wrote it. So they had written it, I think, a year ago. I would, I can't remember the specifics, but it's fairly new for them. But again, they kind of knew that's my avenue. It's my lane. So that's what they were going for that day in the studio. So they wrote it, and then they showed it to me, and I loved it. Leslie Bowe did the demo on it. He's a writer. There's three writers on it. So he sent me the demo of him singing it, and it was cool. It's like they had a little piano going in it, and they had so it was good. And then I knew it could be like a big rock song, and that's my main influence, being from New England. I wasn't really raised on like George Strait or anything, so um, I have the utmost respect for all that, and I do love it now. But growing up, I didn't listen to it as much. So I'm more rock oriented, and so that one could be a big rock song, and
Mm.
then when I sent it to Max, my producer in Nashville, he was like, "Yep, this is right up your alley, and we can definitely do some big rock stuff with this," and it turned out awesome. So
And specifically with the song, so your lane being more rock influence, were there particular musical influences that you were listening to while like pre Betcha? I know it was an outside cut, but was there kind of, when you went into the studio, you were like, this is what I want it to sound like from a vocal
yeah,
standpoint?
yeah. I mean, I like Three Doors Down, Daughtry, Jason Aldean, Brantley Gilbert. So it's kind of like that kind of vein, not too clean, but not too raspy, but good sounding vocals, clear and forceful and rocking,
Yeah, yeah.
So that's that for sure.
That song you know, brings back some memories. It's Not My Time by Three Doors Down.
Right, for sure. Love
Like,
it.
that's blast from the past. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and they're back touring now, so it's good.
some might argue that was like the last era. Like, that was, so I was born in 95. So it was like '01, '02, '03, '04. I think pre '07, basically. That was like the last era where you actually had music music videos on like CMT or on MTV
Yeah.
or VH1. It was Total Request
Yeah.
Live, like, you know,
Right.
and that was revolutionary, because like you could visually see the music, and that was before, you know, you could make the argument that Facebook, I mean, really Facebook, Instagram, TikTok kind of really took that away from because like now you can just upload a video of yourself playing a song. It's like, well, why do I have to
Right.
go through television distributors? But no,
For sure.
um, it's just amazing to me, like how much music has really changed just within like a 10 to 15 year time span.
Absolutely. And it's
And
changing every day.
yeah, and seeing it, like, what are you seeing from like the country music perspective, like 10 to 15 years ago up until now?
Oh man, it's crazy because I go to a lot of seminars in Nashville, and that's the question I ask producers all the time that we meet with publishers and producers, like what's coming across your desk now, because that will be the next years to come, and it's crazy because they said it's now more than ever. It's the biggest melting pot they've ever seen. It's rap, it's rock. I mean, look at Post Malone, look at Machine Gun Kelly, look at you name it. It's like even Beyonce. It's like it's any kind of genre, EDM. Like who knows what's gonna happen? Like any kind of genre is like mixing, and there's room for it. Like I mean, if you don't like it, turn the channel, put on something else. But there's room for it. There's a platform for every style and song. So, but yeah, they say it's the biggest melting pot it's ever been. So I don't know where it's gonna go. I mean, it's got to change. It always does. There's always a chasm. Like right now it's kind of more rock, which is good for my sensibility because that's what I love. And Hardy's doing that a ton. Post Malone was a rocker too, but he's kind of doing some country. All the collaborations, that's another thing. Like more collaborations than ever. Morgan Wallen and Post Malone and Hardy and these guys are all just getting together, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up an interesting point. Like, I don't remember when an album used to be released. Well, number one, you didn't have Spotify or iTunes or Apple Music, so you physically actually had to annoy your parents for them to
Yeah,
drive you to like the Target or the Walmart or the music store to buy, like stand in line and buy the album. But then you bring up another point, like you didn't really see as many, or what I remember, as many collaborations really as you do nowadays. Like, do you think a lot of that has to do with just the internet has totally been ingrained in the music space?
that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it's just access now
Hmm.
to each other, or being in the same rooms and stuff. Maybe it was more separated, not on purpose, but just by travel or whatever it was. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm sure the internet and all the social media has something to do with it, but I don't know. It's just it's
Hmm.
cool though. It's cool. People, just talented people getting together. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, for example, us doing this interview right now, it's like, pre-internet, we would physically have to meet somewhere, and then you have to set up all that equipment that costs millions of dollars. And it's
Right.
like, it's just crazy how much technology has, given access, um, you know, to like new music. Like, for example, I had no idea who you were until like Spotify. So it's just amazing, like just how much Spotify music, you can also Apple Music too as well. Don't want to leave them out of the, leave them in the dust,
Yeah,
but how much just talent there is out there.
for sure. It's crazy. It's
Uh,
everywhere, and people are putting out songs every day.
yeah, and it's very hard to keep track of them. I'm like, oh, like, it's like a homework assignment now. It's like, oh, I got to sit down and like listen to all this music and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, it's a good homework assignment.
yeah, it's a good homework assignment. It's a good like de-stressor. Like if you're walking around like, if you're like, for example, if you're walking around like Boston Common, or if you're, walking around, you know, um, the Kennedy Greenway in the North End, or like here in DC around the mall, it's like just good to like de-stress and like, oh, like it's amazing like how many like ideas you can like come from just listening to music. Like, oh, like that's an idea I could take a project I'm doing, or oh, that's a project I could take another avenue. So it's like
Yeah,
that whole process, just from a creative standpoint, is very cool.
definitely.
Um, but yeah, no, switching gears, going back to the music. So Drawbridge. So that was released in 2019, and Best One released in 2020. We're kind of kind of going backwards here a little bit.
It's okay. Yeah.
But so that also represents your ability to kind of combine your East Coast. I like to say your East Coast swag with your country music writing style, kind of with that kind of rock influence that you were talking about. Could you provide an introduction to Drawbridge as well as Best One?
Yeah. Drawbridge is one of my favorites. I play it every single show. I love it. I wrote it with Mary Haller. She's from Acton, Massachusetts, and it was our first write and our only write. To be honest with you, it's funny, and just because time, and she likes to do writing in person, so I did drive up to her to do it, which was great, you know. And she had that title, and I had the situation, you know, of you know, trying to get through to someone or be closer to someone who may have walls up, you know, or and we all do, you know, we all have walls, our own certain walls, and um, with different people and different types of walls and all this other stuff. But she had that title, and you know, specifically meant, you know, let the drawbridge down, let me in, you know, like, you know, let's connect, you know. So it just that was another magic one, you know. And like I said, I love everything about it. I love the music because, like you said, it's got enough of the country influence, but it's more rock. You know, it's more of my sensibilities. Like I said, the Three Doors Down and the Daughtry influences. So it's got that, which I love, and I play that every single show. I love it. So yeah, it's just I love everything about it. And of course, Max Gabriel again did a great job uh, producing it. So
Awesome. And you mind if we play a clip of Drawbridge too as well?
for sure.
Awesome. Here it is.
I like to think that I can knock down any wall, but girl, this one around you is way too tall. It's like you're in a fortress or a castle made of stone. Oh, don't it get lonely sitting there all alone? All alone. Let your drawbridge down, let me in. I just wanna look around, won't steal a thing. You can tell me all your dreams, I can get to know you better. I just gotta see where you've been, bring us closer together. There's no need to keep me out, baby, let your drawbridge down.
So, great cover art once again. So you're
Thank you.
three for three so far.
Yeah,
Um,
that was Matthew Allen photography too. That was so like we're kind of flip flopping here, but yeah, that one was cool. Of course, we you know you never want to like be too cliche or too you know in your face about it, but we're like, oh, let's kind of get a bridge, let's kind of get a you know some kind of look like that. I do love that art though. That one came out great. I mean, I love all of them, but that one was a good day of like the lighting and the bridge in fall, and it was cool.
and one of the things that really struck out to me was kind of like in that first measure, they were like quick beats.
Mhm.
Was that something like that you wanted people like? Was that an attention grabber, or was it like were you trying to set the tone of the song, or kind of I was just curious, kind of like why start off with that?
Um, yeah, I think it's I always rely on Max for like, you know, what's current, what's you know, what's like you said, what's attention getting, what's gonna serve the song, you know. So he always has a great feel and sensibility for that. So I just kind of, you know, ride whatever he's saying and if, you know, however it feels and we massage it, you know, a little bit. But yeah, that was, you know, that works out nice. I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, and specifically Drawbridge. So what was the you kind of alluded to it a little bit, But what was the writing to cutting process like for this particular song and working with Mary on it?
Yeah, this one was basically that. Yeah, I drove up there, we wrote it, and that was it. We had it, and then we demoed it, I believe, and then yeah, we just knew we were gonna go right to studio with it, and it was pretty, again, pretty cut and dried because we knew how we wanted it to sound, and it was good. And we also did a remix on it too. I don't know if you saw that, but my friend does a rap part, at in the later part of it, and we added some beats onto it too, so it kind of made it more current. I like both. Like they can stand alone as their own things, but it's cool.
Mhm. And why is I'm just curious, why is Drawbridge your favorite to play?
Everything about it, like I love that it has a deep meaning. It's cool to think about a drawbridge in that way. So that's a cool, like, artistic way to think about it, as emotional, as it is. And just the music to it too. It's just it's a good, it's like represents what I sound like, like every rock song, not Beating Heart, because obviously that's a softer one, but every kind of upbeat rock tune I write, I want it to be like that. I want it to have force to it, a bigger chorus. That's a E minor, like a minor scheme, so it's cool. That's just kind of that's why I love it. I just love it. And I mean, and the other thing to not discount is that people connect with it. I get it requested almost every night, so people do connect with it, and they enjoy it too. So that makes it more enjoyable for me.
So if it's your favorite and if people request it a lot, is it safe to assume then it's like that's like a staple on your set list when you go play?
100%. Yeah, that one's every night. Yeah,
And
100%.
it and is it more of an opening song, kind of a mid song, or would you say it's more of a closing song?
No, it's usually beginning to middle. Yeah, I mean
Okay.
sometimes it could be the first song of the night. Yeah, kind of set the tone,
Okay. Awesome.
which is cool.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because one of the things the older I've gotten when it comes to like an album or just a set list, I'm always, and I was a philosophy major in college, so it's like, why is the album or the set list structured this way? Are they trying to convey like a particular message? Is it just because like they threw all these singles together and they're like, this is going to be my set list for the night? Or I don't know, like when you play, is there like a particular like thought process when you structure out like I'm going to play drawbridge that the first on the first time, and then it's going to be best one, and then it's going to be then it's going to be beating heart, and then it's going to be betcha? Or is it kind of like whatever the audience is feeling, you can really change it up?
Well, that last part, you could definitely change it up, how they're interacting with you, the venue, the night, how everyone's feeling. You could do that, but I mean, I definitely go into it with a mindset of, start big, peak, and then, you can lull a little bit and then peak again to end the night, leave, you know, first impression, first song, bang, like you hit them out of the gate, with something upbeat, something good, your favorite, whatever it is. And then, even though Beating Heart is one of my favorites as well, and the Paint song too, best one, but to start that way is too slow, in my opinion.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and I wouldn't play those back to back. I wouldn't play Beating Heart and Best One back to back because they're both slow songs. So I would divvy them up, So I would start with something, upbeat like Star of Your Life, or I'd call that love, come out of the gate with like an upbeat, this is what I'm doing, what's going on. Then probably Drawbridge, to lull it down a little bit. Then, Beating Heart, or Best One, and then end it with Betcha, so that, leave on the up note, positive vibes, shake some hands, like, So that's kind of the structure of it that I go by. In my opinion, I feel like that serves the best. But again, if I like hearing from the crowd, and feeling it from the crowd too. So whatever they want to do is what we do.
Well, I say this as a joke, but I'm also serious. Does it depend if the Patriots, the Red Sox, or the Celtics, or the Bruins won that night?
Yeah, I say that seriously too. Because yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. Well, it more affects my mood. So then,
Yeah. Well, coming to think about it, so like I think Boston was very close. I think I forgot the year, but they won the World Series, the NBA championship, and they also won the Super Bowl all in one year. I forgot what year it was, but they were on the verge. One thing I really want to see in my lifetime is seeing one city win all four major championships in one year.
yeah. Well, you'd be hated. That city would be hated that year, but it would be cool. Yeah, yeah. We were
Yeah,
close. Like, I mean, 2013, 2007, 2008, a couple times.
yeah. Can you imagine how wild Jillian's
2011.
or can you
Yeah.
imagine how wild Jillian's or House of Blues will be, or just Copley Square in general will be?
Yeah. No, I don't think I want to. No. From a helicopter, maybe. That's it.
From a helicopter? You wouldn't want
Yeah, I
to
don't
be
want to
part of the
be in
action.
that. No, not anymore, man. Not anymore. That's too
Not even
much.
not
But
even a not even a
all right,
Kenmore.
all
Like
right.
you
Well,
were.
all right. I would. I take it back. I know I would. I know I would. I know I would. For
There's
sure.
no. This is a judgment-free zone, Kevin. So.
Yeah, for sure. No, I would be. Yeah, I don't know how I would stay away. I don't know how long I would stay, but I would be there. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But
for sure.
so yeah, so best one. You mind if we also play a clip of that too as well?
Also, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. As in parentheses, the paint song.
Right.
I can't count how many walls, bedrooms, and halls I've painted in all of my life. Not trying to look back, but I still see the cracks where the darkness can shine through the light. All the colors they run and they cover the fun, and it always seemed like it went wrong. But it's fading away, the dawn's a new day, and I'm left with the hope to stay strong. And the next time that this old brush hits the wall, and old memories come rushing back, and I see those ghosts down the hall, I won't drop my brush and turn around and run, 'cause the next one is gonna be the best one.
So I gotta ask, is that like an ocean, like that's kind of bled into your face, or is that just kind of the effect of, because it looked like an ocean, or I don't know if that was like the particular whoever did the cover art of that, that was just the effect.
That's Matthew Allen again. No, it's like it's supposed to be brush strokes, like a paint, like painting.
Ah,
So,
okay.
but that's cool though. I don't mind that interpretation, you know. But it's yeah, it's like it's just supposed to be like artful. You know what I mean? Because we didn't know what to do on this one because there's you know, no real material thing that we could do. So we wanted to. So yeah, it's a my face with supposed to be brush strokes, kind of artsy, you know, a little artful.
Yeah.
So
And it seemed like that this particular track, out of the ones we've talked about, is kind of the most traditional sounding. Is that like a traditional country sounding? Is that a fair and accurate assessment?
yeah, I would say. I mean, it's I was studying and listening to a lot of Jackson Brown at the time, so it's like, you know, folk, classic, you know, stuff like that. So that's the vein that this was kind of written in, and this was written, I don't know, 2015 maybe. I can't remember. It was probably maybe it was before that. I don't know. That's something I should look at when I actually wrote it. But yeah, it was around that type of classic traditional sense. You know, it was
Mhm.
you know an emotional topic that this format lends itself to. You know, so it's
Mhm.
nice.
And you wrote best one yourself, correct?
Yeah, that one's just a solo write. Yep, I wrote that one all by myself. Yeah.
And so what was, you were talking about a situation you were going through. Like, what was the writing to cutting process like for this song?
This one took a long time, actually. Well, it took a long time on my part. So I wrote the song um, over a few days, and then I played it a lot. I was playing a lot in Boston, and it got great reviews. It was it was hard for me to remember it. There's a lot of lyrics in the song, so I remember doing a little cheat sheet so I could remember it because I just written it. I mean, I think I played it the night I wrote it, and I was like, I don't have this committed to memory, so I played it, but got great reviews, and I felt good playing it, and it was great. So, but then it sat on the shelf for a while because I didn't know how I wanted to produce it, but I knew
Mm,
I didn't want to. I knew I didn't want to rush it, and I knew I didn't want to make a mistake with it. Like I wanted it to be a certain way, but I didn't know it. So again, Max Gabriel, I waited for a long time, and then yeah, he just made it come to life the best way. Like the keys, he plays the keys on that, and that's I'm a big piano guy, um, influencing, but it it really finally came together. So that was a little different because the actual production of it was quick, but like I said, the thoughts behind it and the time and the changing of what the direction of it, to finally get it right, and Max did. So it's great. I'm so happy that we did that.
And specifically with all your music, so we talked about Beating Heart, Betcha, Drawbridge, and Best One, parentheses, the paint song. Um, so how have you been able to apply New England specifically, not only to these singles that we talked about, but also your music? Like, what do you want listeners to know about the region and kind of what you experienced in your life up to this point?
That's a good question. um, I don't know. I mean, I think just that. I have a ton of musical influences from everywhere, and I always say, like, people ask the genre that I perform, and I say rock country. I always say rock country, not country rock, right? Because I start with the rock. So I believe in storytelling. I believe in good sounding records and all that stuff, and good vocals, and all that stuff is monumental to country music. But then I like having an electric guitar in it, so it's like that's my rock New England. So that's how I grew up, and that's what I always say is that I didn't grow up listening to Conway Twitty, but I have the appreciation, and I did the homework um, on the back end, not when I was there, but have studied it now. So have the appreciation and the respect for that. So I guess that's what I would say is that New England can be a melting pot again of, like, there are people who like country music and apply their own influences. Like I grew up on rock and roll, but there's nothing wrong with, it's music. It's music is music. So
Mhm.
that's what the New England, I think, and the New England scene is very rich. It's a hotbed for all types of good music. And I'm astounded every day I meet someone new in New England who is doing a great job with whatever genre they're playing. So it's cool.
Awesome. And one thing that really struck my attention when I was reading your website, you talk about surviving the station nightclub fire, and you talk about living your life with more purpose and gratitude. So, how do you apply this not only to your music, but who you are as a person?
Um, yeah, I mean that was like a rebirth when that happens. You kind of you reflect, and I try to reflect every single day. You wake up, as soon as I open my eyes, you say thank you. Like that's it's tough to do. Believe me, it's tough to do every day, but it feels good. It feels good to appreciate things, and I think make yourself aware that you have good things in life, and not, obviously not material, but people and experiences and love and all that good stuff. So, it's not easy to do, but I think you just try to say thank you every day for
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
breaths you get to take, So, and look, and believe me, I bitch and moan about a lot of things, but try to also be grateful and be thankful for those things. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that came out of that.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like the older you get, like start things. I like to use the phrase like it hits you like a bus. Basically, the older you get,
Yeah, for sure.
it's like what is that song like? Have you ever heard the song "100 Years" by Five for Fighting?
Yes, great song.
That kind of like I'm like I listened to it. I think the first time I listened to it when I was like 13 or 14 years old, and now like approaching 30, you're like, holy shit! Like wow, like
Yeah, good song. I try to cover that once in a while. Well, the funny thing about it is not everyone gets 100 years. Rarely anybody gets 100 years. So he kind of like he stretches it a little bit too. So it's
mhm,
yeah, great song. I'm glad
yeah,
you said that. I'll go back and listen to that too. That's a good one.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like as a musician, do you ever catch yourself listening to music that the last time you listened to was maybe like 10, 15 years ago, and then all of a sudden you listen to it now, and you're like, wow, I didn't catch that, or like why, like I learned something new from this song like every day, or you know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because your life changes, so the meanings of songs change and how they relate, how you relate to them. But the beauty of it is that you remember how it hit you then, and now you can relate today. So it can have many lives to it, which is cool.
Hmm.
It can
Yeah.
it can exist multiple times in your world, so it's cool. But yeah, I do that all the time. I go through catalogs all the time. I'll just scroll through everything I have and I'll just, I'll keep listening. It's great.
Hmm. Well, and so yeah, so I mean, the question, I know we've talked about it, um, offline, but how is your fantasy football team doing this year? Like, do you have your defense squared
uh,
away? Do you have your running backs? Like, no one's
yeah.
gotten hurt. Like, not
I wish
not
it
lost
was
any
better.
money yet.
No, 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 no. I'm still good. I think I'm 1-2, although I did lose by a point and a half last week. So that's upsetting. But yeah, no injuries. I change my defense every week based on the matchup of who they're playing. That's my strategy. But I don't know how good a strategy it is because of 1-2 right now. But CJ Stroud needs to help me out a little bit and Dobbins. But yeah, my defense changes every week. I like to match them up. I like to
Mhm.
match them up. So,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
mean,
it's fun. I mean, I'm a sports guy too. I'm a huge music guy, obviously, but I'm a huge sports guy too. Baseball, football.
yeah. Well, I was CJ Stroud though has a lot of potential, and I'm saying that as a
Yeah.
Cowboys fan. Like
Oh
like
yeah.
he can read the pocket, like he can read defenses, he can move in the pocket, he can
And he's
stand in the
young.
pocket. Yeah, and he's young.
Yeah.
You just got to
Yeah,
give
he's
him
good, man.
time.
For sure.
You know,
For sure.
um, it's the same thing with the Patriots. Like, Gerard Mayo's not gonna change that team overnight. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm a very impatient man, but but I will.
oh
I'm here for it. So let's go.
yeah. How do you
Let's
think the
go.
Pats are gonna do this year, though?
Well, I did bet on them having the least amount of wins this season, so that's that's that tells you. But then I win either way. So then if we win a lot, my heart feels good. If we lose a lot, then my wallet feels good. So
Yeah. So,
well, we'll be all
are
right.
you talking about just overall in the league or just in the AFC North,
Oh no, I think it was the whole league. Yeah,
the whole
yeah, I
league?
bet that too. Yeah. Well, I did multiple crazy bets. So
Oh, well,
so
it is one of your crazy bets. Like, if you lose, I will wear New York Jets shirt to one of my shows.
never, no, never, never. I don't think there's enough money for that.
You don't want to have the New York Jets logo and like,
Yeah, no. No, not in any pictures. Definitely not. Oh man, that's
But
awesome. But hey, man, I have to wrap up.
yes, and
Um,
any albums,
yeah,
EPs, right around shows that you want people to know about?
yeah, for sure, man. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me. But oh, I did want to say I do have to wrap up because I have a co-write. I'm in Nashville right now, so I'm writing. I'm writing today, so I don't want to keep my co-writer waiting. But um, yeah, I just recorded a new song yesterday, so that should be out. I'm hoping the first 2 weeks of November. I want to get it out definitely before Thanksgiving, so that'll be a new one. I'm not going to tell you the name or anything yet, just a big tease right there. So we're still working on the tracks and everything else. So that will be, but there is new music coming, which is cool. And I will be playing the night before the Pats game in Nashville. So they're playing the Titans. They're playing the Tennessee Titans on November 3rd. I'm playing November 2nd, the night before that game at Chiefs, which is Eric Church's new bar. So I'll be playing there. It's a St. Jude fundraising thing, and it's like a Boston, it's New England takeover. So it's all my buddies that live here or there, and we're all coming down to do a big New England takeover. So it's gonna be mayhem. It's gonna be
Okay.
amazing.
And then one last question before we wrap
Yeah.
up. Where can people find more about you, Kevin, as well as your music?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you again for having me and for asking those questions. Yeah, it's just all Kevin Herchen, Herchen. There's .com, kevinherchen.com. There's Insta, Snap, TikTok, the old Facebook, the old Facebook, that's there. A lot of basically everywhere. So just search YouTube, big YouTube presence, and of course Spotify and Apple iTunes.
Awesome. And be sure to subscribe to Down in the Country podcast YouTube channel and listen to the audio version of this interview on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Kevin, thank you so much again for your time today.
Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me, and thank you for what you're doing for the scene, man. I appreciate that. It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And this